Hi everyone. So I am Dr. Vijay Bhaskar Reddy, Associate Professor, Department of Chemistry. So I am handling environmental science subject. So previous class we discussed about the biogeochemical cycles and one of the carbon cycle discussed, and soil origins. What are the layers present in that soil discussed elaborately. So today the overview of the topics are classification of the ecosystems and ecosystem services. What are the ecosystem services giving? And third concept is the biomagnification. The first is the classification of the ecosystem. The first is the based on the origin. The ecosystem will be classified two categories. First one is the natural ecosystem and the second one is the artificial ecosystems. So natural ecosystem means this ecosystem will be created by nature itself, natural origin. So artificial ecosystems are created by the man-made. So like here the artificial ecosystem will be controlled, like a biotic components and physico-chemical environment, all will be controlled by the man. Whatever components, biotic components and abiotic components and environmental related, all will be controlled by the man-made. So examples for these artificial ecosystems are agriculture land and artificial pond and urban development area. These are all coming under the artificial ecosystems. Now coming to the further classification of the natural ecosystems. So these natural ecosystems are further classified is aquatic ecosystems and terrestrial ecosystems. These aquatic ecosystems mainly affected or dominates by the effect of the water pH, the temperature of pH, and then what is the salinity of pH and salinity of the water and depth of the water. These are all factors will be affected the aquatic ecosystems. So terrestrial ecosystem mainly dominate the whatever this will be biotic components and abiotic components. We'll discuss that later. So this aquatic ecosystem is a further classified in two types. One is the freshwater ecosystems and the second one is the marine ecosystems. So based on the salinity present in the water, this will be classified. A freshwater ecosystem further divided into the two categories, lentic and lotic. So lentic means is the water will be static position, not moving. So in that place, whatever ecosystem will be developed is called the lentic ecosystems. So lotic means water will be moving from one place to other place. So some flowing conditions are there. In that area, water will be, whatever ecosystems are developed is called the lotic ecosystems. So now coming to the terrestrial ecosystems. These ecosystems mainly is the whatever relates to the biotic components, mainly living on the land or earth. So mainly we are the vegetation like plants, algae, fungi, shrubs, lions. These are all will be mainly dominate in the terrestrial ecosystems. In this one, terrestrial ecosystem mainly affect the climate and the soil structure, rapid exchange of carbon dioxide, oxygen, water. These are all will be affected whatever by the terrestrial ecosystems. These terrestrial ecosystems are further classified into the three categories: is a grassland ecosystems, forest ecosystems, and desert ecosystems. So in this one of the grassland ecosystems we are going to further discuss elaborately. So taking the one of the ecosystems, this is the brief flow chart of the ecosystem classification. Now we can discuss about the grassland ecosystems. So grassland ecosystems are mainly dominated by the grass species. Mostly grass species will be major dominated, and but sometimes also is the small growth of the few trees and shrubs will be present in that area. So those are called the grassland ecosystems. So based on these grassland ecosystems is a further classified into the whatever climatic conditions or regions in the climatic conditions. These grassland ecosystems are further classified into the three categories. First one is the tropical grasslands and temperate grasslands and polar or arctic tundra or grasslands. Based on the climatic regions, these grasslands will be further classified. For example, is a tropical grasslands. Generally, these tropical grasslands means so near to the borders of the tropical forest. These regions mostly near or borders of the tropical forest. So what are the conditions will be in the tropical grasslands are there is the more whatever the high average temperature will be there and low to moderate rainfall will be there. So these conditions are there present in the tropical grasslands. So in this type of grasslands, in different countries, different names will be called. Like in Africa, these typically called the savannas. So thus grasslands names are called the savannas. Now coming to the temperate grasslands. These temperate grasslands are usually is the occurred or available in the regions of the sloped hills. Generally is the sloped hills. This type of the temperate grasslands will be occurred. Generally what are the conditions are present in the temperate grasslands means is the summer time is a more hot conditions are there, winter time more cold conditions are there. So these climatic conditions the classified the temperate grasslands. In different countries these temperate grasslands are names are called the in USA and Canada is the prairies, and South America are called the pampas, and Africa name is called the velds, and Europe and Asia is called the steppes. These grassland names are called in different countries in different names. Those are will be mentioned here. So now coming to the polar grasslands. These are extremely is the snow conditions or frigid wind conditions are very is the plants also very difficult to grow in this type of regions. So those are called the polar grasslands. These are the one of the example for the grassland ecosystems. Coming that one. Go for the next slide. What are the ecosystem services? What are ecosystem doing the services? The services will be classified or categorized. Is the 4 categories is the regulating services, provisional services, cultural services and supporting services. So coming to the regulating services, under the regulating services is a climate control. How climate control is controlled by the different ecosystems. So generally ecosystems are regulating or controlled by the whatever alter the air composition present in the greenhouse gases, oxygen concentration, temperature or ozone layer depletion related whatever chlorofluorocarbons, these are all will be regulated by the different ecosystems. That's why is the climate control by the ecosystems. Waste treatment. Waste treatment means this is the decomposed or processing of any waste material is coming in the ecosystem. Automatically, naturally that will be is converted into the products. Waste products, that one. So that is the waste treatment. A disease control, when the disease is spreading, ecosystem itself control the disease control. Buffer zones means generally these are the ecosystems are natural buffer zones. Example for the wetlands and forest. These are the very best example for the buffer zones. So how these buffer zones will be regulate or control the that services. So these forest or wetlands will be control the floods, soil erosion and some of the disasters, like this will be controlled buffer zones. Air purification. So whatever the air present in the unwanted materials like pollutants, contaminants that will be absorbed by the different plants and animals, that will be control and regulate the air purification. That is called the air purification. Flood control by the whatever the buffer zones. Population control also interaction between the different species. So that will be ecosystems are controlled. Population control. Now coming to the provisioning services. These are the very tangible services are giving the different ecosystems. Like providing food. All foods are coming from the producers. So like using the photosynthesis reaction. All plants are generating the different organic matter that will be converted to the different tropic levels. Is the food is coming from the different ecosystems. Wood as a fuel will be coming, and water also is a marine products. A lot of marine products are coming, either medicines or whatever that one. Raw materials are providing for the different industries. A biodiversity and gene pool maintenance is a different plants and different animals having the different genes are maintaining, that will be giving the information for the services, that one further services. So now coming to the cultural related. So these cultural related mainly recreational, spiritual, they simply say ecotourism like that one. So nearly in $12 billion of the worth of the ecotourism will be happen by the whatever these different ecosystems. supporting services. So biogeochemical cycling of the nutrients. Already we discussed in the previous class, carbon cycle, how carbon will be rotating from the atmosphere to living organisms and then once again go back to the biotic and abiotic components, nutrient cycle, primary productivity, oxygen generation, habitats, soil formation, renewal. These are all coming to the other supporting services. So these are all doing the ecosystem services. Now we are going to some of the definitions related to the biomagnification concept. Here three major definitions are there. First one is the bioaccumulation. Second one is the biomagnification, bioconcentration. So here the definition, first one is the whatever the concentration of the chemicals, that concentration of the chemicals will be slowly increased in the tissues of the organisms. Organisms means whatever you take, the animals or microorganisms, whatever, that concentrations will be slowly increased in the over some period of the time is called the bioaccumulation. So whatever the chemicals that will be slowly accumulated in the tissues of the organisms in the over a time is called the bioaccumulation. So biomagnification means increasing the concentration of the chemicals in tissues from the lower tropic level to higher tropic level. Like for example, is the producer to is the tertiary consumers, is the primary producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and whatever that when the finally tropic levels. So that concentration of the chemicals will be is increased by the organisms is called the biomagnification. Bioconcentration. So third definition is the bioconcentration, increasing the concentration of contaminants or chemicals in tissues of the organisms by either dermal or dietary ingestion with respect to water is called the bioconcentration. So these bioconcentration factors will be calculated by the ratio of the whatever concentration of the chemicals. So bioconcentration factors are calculated by the C biota by C water. So means the concentration of the whatever chemicals will be accumulated in the organisms. Biota means is the plants and animals. Whatever concentration will be accumulated over a period through the dermal, whatever ingestion, whatever that one, that concentration will be accumulated in the biota or living organisms to its concentration in the water is called the bioconcentration factor. So this bioconcentration factor will be whatever expressed in the units like the liters per kilogram of the organisms and how much weight of that organism will be there. So of that tissue is called the bioconcentration factor. Now coming to the related to the bioconcentration factors, we discussed some of the table given the some of the chemicals. Here the list of the chemicals are given: arsenic compounds and cadmium compounds and DDT, one of the pesticide widely used for the weed killing in the agriculture crops. So here the bioconcentration factors are different chemicals are using the different purposes in our daily life. Here the DDT, dichloro diphenyl trichloroethane, one of the pesticide will be bioconcentration factor is nearly 54,000 is there liter per kg. Is the arsenic and cadmium, arsenic compounds are nearly is the 44 is there. So one of the polychlorinated, here the nearly the PCBs is a 1 lakh is there. So these are widely, PCBs are widely using is the either lubricants, lubricants purpose are used or coolant purpose are used these compounds. Nowadays these compounds are banned. If these compounds are used in the ecosystems, that will be slowly accumulated in the higher tropic levels, that will be coming to the harmful to the toxic compounds. So these are the some of the bioconcentration factors of the different chemicals are given in this table. Now moving the another table comparison wise. Here the DDT is whatever the solubility in water is a very low 0.0055 is a solubility. DDT compound is a very low level, but coming to the whatever the log K octanol and water coefficient. What is the octanol water coefficient? Here the one of the equation is coming, that is the whatever the partition coefficient is a measure how the substance will be distributed between the two miscible phases. For example, they take the octanol and water is a combination miscible, and when the organic compounds will be miscible, so some of the compounds are more soluble in the organic layer, some of the compounds will be more soluble in the water layer. So that ratio is called the coefficient of the octanol water. So if the octanol water concentration is a 6.91 is there for the DDT, but is the water solubility will be very less. So based on this one, here the log of the bio concentration factor is directly proportional to the log of the coefficient of the octanol and water. So means octanol water coefficient will be more. That chemical is a bio concentration factor will be more. Bio concentration factor is more. So that's why whatever the components are in the coefficient of the octanol water ratio is a more, those compounds will be more accumulated in the tissues of the microorganisms. So compare here the some of the compounds. DDT is the octanol water is a coefficient is a 6.91. So for example, compared to the phenolic compound, here is the water more soluble, 93,000 mg per liter will be soluble in the phenol compound, but whatever the octanol water coefficient is the very less. So means that will be enter into the tissues very low concentrations to accumulate in the higher tropic levels. That is the comparison between the which compound will be more accumulated in the tissues in the higher tropic level. This concentration factors and octanol water coefficient is giving good information. Now coming to this slide. So here the whatever biomagnification. Biomagnification means already is the concentration of the chemical in the tissues of organisms increased in the higher tropic level. So like a producers, primary consumers, or secondary consumers, or tertiary consumers, whatever the omnivores or carnivores, final is a tropic level, higher tropic level. So this concentration, chemical concentration will be higher in the tropic levels are increased from the producers to final the whatever omnivores or carnivores. This magnification is called the biomagnification. Accumulate the concentration in the higher tropic levels is called the biomagnification. Here the first is the base of this one will be take the water. For example, DDT, taking the example in the next slide we discuss that one. So next level is the primary consumers of the plankton, whatever algae, that one. So primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary, carnivores, taking that one. So now go to the next slide. Here taking the one of the case study is recorded in the food chain accumulation of the DDT compound in California lake. So here the water is the bottom of the water in the food, whatever in the pyramid, bottom of the water will be there. That DDT will be concentration is the near the 10 to the 4 of minus 5 ppm is there. And there is a very less concentration. This will be considered as the bioconcentration factor is the 1. So now going to the higher tropic levels like a producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers and tertiary consumers and omnivores or carnivores. So the concentration of the DDT is slowly increased. 0. Is a 10 to the power of minus 5 to 22.8 in the higher tropic levels. Is the bioconcentration factor also increased from 4,60,000 is a liter per kg is accumulated in the tissues of the organisms, that one. So what is the indication or giving means in the higher tropic levels, so greater the biomagnification of the toxic chemicals will be accumulated slowly. So that will be because is the higher tropic levels generally human beings are there finally. So that human beings will consume the milk and eggs or meat from the different birds, different animals. So that will be slowly transfer into the higher toxic elements to the human beings also. So this whatever accumulation of the chemicals into the higher concentration levels in the higher tropic levels is called the biomagnification. Okay. So this today is a summary of the presentation is that we discussed about the classification of ecosystems and their services and biomagnification. An example of the taking the DDT is an example. So in the next lecture we are going to discuss about the water resources and thank you very much.